We were talking on the way in about Baal, the god that, Old Testament, that, every time the people went bad, they started worshiping Baal. And we were talking about this today, and the signs are always the same. And whether we're worshiping Baal or not, I'm not talking about actually, worshiping some false god, but we are practicing the same thing.
There's nothing new under the sun. Let's get that. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9, where it says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after." Why is that? Because everything that happens in this world is based in replication. Replication, or replicating the vibration of what was old in regards to antiquity, in regards to the past. That's what it's all about. And this is what Solomon is laying out here. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. There is no remembrance of former things, because the things that happened in ancient times is happening now. So that's why there's no remembrance in regards to this scripture and what it's laying out, or what it's conveying. It's pretty much laying out the understanding that everything is replicated when it comes to kingdoms and so on and so forth. Like this fourth kingdom here, in this captivity, in this global society, in this global captivity, is just a replica of ancient Rome. Ancient Rome is a replica of ancient Kemet. Ancient Greece being a replica of ancient Kemet. That's what it all goes back to. So that's why we should not question, why these things occur, because it's been occurring. It's just that we have to be aware of the spiritual element and what galvanizes these things when it comes to the left hand or the right hand. But for the most part, we touch on the left hand because that's what's prominent. So let's just go back to Mr. Beck. So just before I get to Beck, there's not just one form of worship. Overt form of worship is not the only form of worship. And we have to understand, in this society, everything is based on deception and trickery. That's the power of Satan. That's the power of the devil, quote unquote devil. It's all about trickery and deception. So, when he talks about how they're not worshiping Molech or Baal, they actually are. It's just not overt. It's subconscious, because everything about this society is based in the worship of Baal, for the most part, when it comes to the left hand. In regards to the agendas that they push, it all goes back to the worship of these pagan gods. So it is a form of worship. It's just not overt. It's subconscious. A lot of these people don't even know that they worship Baal. Like when these women, they abort their fetuses, that's a form of a worship of Baal or Molech, because he was the god of sacrifice, child sacrifice, as well as sacrifice in general. Molech, the number 6 being prominent, 66 being adjacent to Molech or Baal. So everything about the society, for the most part, when it comes to the left hand, is based in the rites and the motifs of the ancient paganism, the ancient pagan understanding, the Greco-Roman understanding, the ancient Kemet understanding. And a part of that is, the veneration of the false gods, Baal, Molech, Osiris, Saturn, so on and so forth, all different composites, pretty much going back to the same people in regards to their characteristics. This is why they was worshipped. These are false gods that go back to people. That's why they're not gods. But the term God, when it comes to what they live up to, it's prominent. It's apropos because they do have power when it comes to these, the veneration system. It does lend power to the people that believe in it, especially those people in the upper levels. The left hand does give them power. That's the point. But the end all be all, we all understand that the Most High is the true and living power, the true and living God. It's just these false powers are being pretty much ignited at the behest of the Heavenly Father, because he controls the left and the right, pursuant to Isaiah 45:7. So all this stuff is pretty much controlled by the Most High, because this is his movie. And the reason why I say that is because if you understand the Bible, then you know that all this stuff is controlled by the Heavenly Father. And certain people are meant to live out their predestination for what the Most High already set up for them. That's why it says that, I believe in 2 Thessalonians that the Most High shall deceive many. Just paraphrasing how, it says that the Most High shall send them a strong delusion. Not deceive many, but send them a strong delusion based in the power of the left hand. It's only meant for certain people to understand what this is truly about in regards to the pagan understanding, or just this vibration as a whole on the left hand.
What the practice of the worship of Baal was child sacrifice, which if you had these orgies, and then if you didn't want the child, you just killed it as a child sacrifice. Well, isn't that what Planned Parenthood does?
Exactly. And that's why I went to Ecclesiastes, because I just wanted to, let out that point of nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything is replicated. It's just in a different form. It's not overt as far as the worship, but it is the worship, because they just, they go into the same practices, whether it be child sacrifice, homosexuality, transgenderism. These are all things that are based in the appeasement of these false entities. That's all it is.
You don't want the child, so you have the right to kill it. We're just not doing it as a religious ceremony, but it's the same practice. And I just thought to myself, what? Who are we anymore? And it's sexual excess for anything goes at any time, and the more the better. So
do what thou wilt. And yes, because that's the power of lust. Lust is just doing anything in excess. That's what lust is. Lust is not just about sex. Lust is about you pretty much fiending for something to the point where you want it in excess. That's what that's about when it comes to the understanding of lust. And that's this world, lust, greed, envy, jealousy, covetousness. That's what you see. That's pervasive in this society. He also talks about the signs. And when he talks about the signs, he's just talking about certain things that you see that coincide with the worship of Baal. But when I talk about the signs, I talk about the signs of the time in regards to what we see for what's to come in regards to prophecy. So the signs of the time that pretty much prognosticates what's going to happen pursuant to prophecy when it comes to destruction, when it comes to the world ending and, Jacob having his kingdom. So I go to Matthew 24, where it talks about how the love of many shall wax cold and iniquity shall abound. And that's in these days where, iniquity is at its heights, and a lot of people are just really demonic. It's like they really getting into their demonic element. I remember I was crossing the street one time and I'm just minding my business. This dude like, oh, if you want to hurry up, I'll run your ass over. Something like that he was saying, where he was like, yeah, take your time. I'll run your ass over. Mind you, I got a whole bag in my hand, another bag in my other hand. So I'm just like taking my time a little bit. You can't even really tell if you have the light anyway, because the way it is where I live at, it's kind of like, it's just the whole shit just need to be fixed. But it was just like, you could tell that certain people's spirits is just off. Like, dude didn't even know me. You could tell he just was spiritually off. Like, some people just demonic and they just spiritually ill. So that just goes to show that, the love of many shall wax cold when iniquity shall abound. And iniquity is at its heights when it comes to the left-hand element. And in Matthew 24, it just talks about these times where, you should see the signs, and that should let you know that the Most High is going to send his son soon. All these things will come to pass according to prophecy. And the worship of Baal, that's something that's been at play for years, for, millennia, centuries, pretty much. It's just that it's not so overt as it was in the ancient times, where it was direct worship or veneration. Some people do when it comes to certain cultures, where, they don't have no qualms about it. But for the most part in this society, it's all subconscious because the power structure, they venerate ancient Kemet. They venerate, the pagan gods and whatnot. And slowly but surely, it's going to turn to a more overt form. It's just that everything is based in the power of trickery and deception in these last days, to the point where Satan shall come down with great wrath, and, he's going to be more revealing because he knows that he have but a short time. So it's just all about these days, and we continuing to see this iniquity, this iniquitous nature of this society.
So we got two of them. You have child sacrifice. You don't want your child after having the orgies. You don't want your child. Don't worry. You can just sacrifice it to the God. We have that through Planned Parenthood. We have sexual excess beyond imagination just 20 years ago. And what were they sacrificing for? They were sacrificing so the weather patterns would be good. Think of that. This is exactly what we're doing. Exactly.
The guy makes a good point because recently my little cousin, female, she was having orgies, and then she got pregnant, and she realized, wouldn't it be a great idea to make the weather great tomorrow by aborting my fetus? And then we all had a conversation. It was a family call, a conference call. She said, I could keep the child, I could keep the fetus and let it come to term and everything. But I was thinking, I really want it to be 76 degrees and beautiful tomorrow outside for the weather. So I don't want to be selfish. I want the weather to be good for everybody. So I figure, why not get
76? He probably know what this is about. He probably know who Molech is or Baal is, because that number is associated with Baal. 76, as well as 66, the goat. 76 is associated with the goat. Baal is also known as the goat or Saturn. And we know that 66 is associated with Baal or Molech. So he's somebody who knows. He probably just, made up this whole little story just to let the people in the know what it's really about in regards to what he knows about a Baal or Molech. You feel what I'm saying? But, just speaking on what he's talking about in regards to the female saying that, hey, I want to abort this fetus so the weather could change or whatnot. That's based in the power of, that whole vibration, that dynamic, that veneration system. It's just like, I remember one time I came across a female where, I was just speaking on something in regards to the homosexuality. And this was the time where I was a little naive. I didn't know what I was doing, to where, you got to be discreet. And, you got to be discreet a little bit when you talk about these things. I didn't know that at the time because I was a novice to what I know now. But even in my natural understanding, it was just something that wasn't clicking with me. I was just like, why is this dude walking around like that with his son? And because he was a homo, but he had his son with him. So I'm guessing, or whoever that was, it was some little boy with him. And this girl, when I said that to this girl, because I'm thinking that this girl is going to agree with me because, this was around the time where I'm thinking that people are just in their right mind. So when I was saying this to the girl, she was like, well, what do you mean? Don't you want your son to not have to conform to one gender? Some shit like that, where she was like, what do you mean? Shouldn't your son not have to conform to one gender? And I was just like, wow. Conform to a gender? How do you conform to a gender? There's no conforming to that. That's just what you are. And I was just thinking that in my head. I didn't say that. I was just kind of like puzzled when she said that to me in real time. I was just like, huh? Conform to a gender? Like what? What do you... And, in hindsight now, I'm thinking it's easy to tell. Like these females, they're of Eve. It's easy to implant this nonsense in their heads. First of all, because they feeble, but they're proverbial Eve. They of this society. The liberal female is just a manifestation of Eve. It's easy to implant these left-hand ideologies in her head. And most of this shit don't even make sense. Like, think about it. Conforming to a gender. Another example, when I was speaking to this lady about just the crazy aspect of transgenderism when it comes to the illness, the mental illness of these people. And this woman was like, it's just a mental thing where their mind tells them. I know that the body is different from the mind. The mind tells them, so that's what it is. The mind tells them that they're a boy, so they're a boy. I'm telling this person, like, that doesn't validate anything. That's not justifiable. I'm pretty much letting this person know that just because they tell themselves that doesn't mean that that's normal. You get what I'm saying? Like, she made it seem as if that's a normal thing for your mind to tell you that you're a boy even though you're a girl. She was like, yeah, if your mind tell you that, then that's it. I'm like, well, your mind is telling you that, right? But at the same time, you have a penis while your mind is telling you that. So shouldn't that mean that something's wrong with your mind there, right? Like, but these females, they don't put two and two together. Most of these women, these liberal females, they don't put two and two together. They're so simple to the point where they have like a little kid outlook on things, like a childlike outlook where it's like, you can't rationalize that. That doesn't not make sense to you. That somebody could just say that they're a girl even though they're a boy. Like, shouldn't you look at that as some sort of like mental problem? I'm just being real, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's common sense. You can't think that you're a girl and that's just it, you're a girl if you're a boy. No, your genitalia tells you otherwise. Your penis or your vagina defines gender. If you have a penis, then you are a boy. That's just that. And so it's just, this how you know that we just live in a Looney Tune world. We live in a cartoon world. You know what I mean? I know I'm going on a long little tangent, but it's just crazy. Just wanted to give examples of just the craziness of this world when it comes to these people and what they lean on in regards to these ideologies. It's crazy.
Naborsh. Listen to this guy, man. Honestly, it's gotten to the point where I really don't know how anybody can listen to right-wing media. Because the things they talk about, they're just so stupid. Like, that's like mind-numbing stupidity. Like, just even the beginning of the conversation. You know, we were driving in and we were talking about bail on the way here. Who does that? Who does that? Yeah, me and the buddies, we were going to go grab a beer the other day, but then Todd's over there going, hey, let me tell you something about bail, huh?
You know, if they read the Bible or something, it's not like that's just something that's just off kilter. Somebody, two people talking about bail, or a lot of people talk about, spiritual elements, left hand, right hand. So it's not nothing that's like shocking that people, want to have conversation about these entities and whatnot. Especially those people, because they into that type of belief system. They're into that belief system. That's what that's about.
Know what I'm saying? That guy Baal with the thing and the demon and the horns and the tail and that guy's a fucker.
You see, he threw up the horns, signaling. He's in the know. Just of my belief, what I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe he's in the know.
Fuck that guy, huh? Who does that? You know what normal people talk about? Sports, the news, whatever's going on in their personal lives. We were casually discussing Baal. Really? Was that before or after your conversation about Zeus and Thor and Hercules?
See, just because people talk about that stuff, that makes them not normal. That's all based off of perception. We've been accustomed to believing that just because something is this or that we should classify that as normal or abnormal or whatever. Like, no. If they want to talk about that, they can talk about that. It's something that's in the atmosphere. It is what it is. Like, what's the problem? A lot of people don't like to tap into these things because it's too much for them when it comes to the profundity of it, the truthful aspect, the power. When it comes to the understanding of Baal, you have to delve deep into the scriptures. A lot of people don't want to delve deep into the scriptures. So they have like a cartoon-like aspect or cartoon-like approach to how they assess these things. I'm not talking about him, but just in general with certain people. Everything is all about context. So maybe, certain people, they just into that type of stuff to where they can contextualize. And that's why, it's something that they want to talk about. Just like myself, where I find myself kind of forgetting that I'm around simple-minded people. Not to be disrespectful or nothing like that. I find myself forgetting that I'm around like regular people, per se, because I don't consider myself regular, and neither do I consider the brothers that think like me regular or think on the same wavelength in regards to people that's in the knowledge. I don't think of y'all brothers as regular. But for the most part, I forget sometimes that I'm around these people and I talk about these things and they look at me like I'm crazy. They say, oh, he's just saying shit. So this is why you got to have a little discretion when it comes to that. But at the same time, you know, if it's something that you're into, you just into it, and you shouldn't feel, you know, insecure about it or whatever.
Or did you not work those in? Or Buddha? Did you bring a Buddha? Do you oftentimes casually... we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita on the way in. See, it's funny how in the U.S. you bring it up any other, religious reference that's not specifically to our community, and people will go, "Why are you talking about that? It's such a waste of time." But for whatever reason, when you bring up our own myths, anything associated with the Bible, people are more lenient on it. Oh, okay, you're talking about Baal, I guess. If you were to say we were talking about the Greek gods and how we believe in them on the way in, people go, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You're like a fuck. You sound foolish right now. Nobody's interested in what you have to say because you seem like you're losing it." But when he says Baal, all the right-wingers are like, "Oh, please tell us more. Tell us more, Glenn, about Baal. Well, what are we doing wrong?" And then also, Planned Parenthood is killing children. Yes, they're killing children. They're committing infanticide. What they do is they line up a bunch of toddlers and they pretend like they're going to take them to Disneyland. And then somebody busts down the door with an AK-47 and aims for the head. Oh, right, they don't do that. You made that shit up. So what do they actually... Well, clearly he's talking about abortion. He's saying abortion is murder, which of course it's not. But okay, let's run with this for a sec.
It is. It really is. You have a life inside of you. You kill it, that's murder. That's just what that is. And it pretty much is a form of child sacrifice when it comes to the appeasement of the God of child sacrifice. That's just what it is. It's just not overt. It's subconscious, especially when it comes to these females. You know, everything about what they do in regards to the left hand. I mean, it is, 50-50 when it comes to the overt subconscious, but I talk about the female because they're proverbial Eve. It's easy for them to go into these type of things. So that's why, they more so prone to abort their fetuses. I mean, now with the whole illegal abortion thing or all this bullshit, I don't know, but just based off of the past in regards to pro-choice and do what you want, do what thou wilt, you know what I mean? They feed all that stuff to the woman.
What percentage of the budget for Planned Parenthood goes to abortion? About 3%. Now, they could still fire back, well, we still think abortion is murder, so 3% murder is not okay either. Okay, well, let's break this down a little further. What percentage of abortions occur before 20 weeks? Now, why is the number 20 so important? Because before 20 weeks...
Well, I pretty much just wanted to go into the back angle. I don't know if he's going to go back to it, but the point of this video is pretty much the understanding of the vibration of this society is all replicated by ancient Kemet, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, so on and so forth. That's all it is. And the things that we're accustomed to when it comes to the left hand, as far as the sinful nature of this society, is a subconscious worship or veneration of the pagan gods. When it comes to the celebration of these holidays, when it comes to these practices in regards to abortion or these agendas that's being pushed that coincide with, LGBTQ, the do what thou wilt philosophy, all of that stuff is based in the worship of the pagan gods. And that's just pretty much pervasive in this society. It's just not overt. So that's the point of that. Thank y'all. God bless.